Okay, I bought these when Fukushima radiation blew its stack. I have a few packs of these kicking around. Right? And then I bought, you know, those other little ones, right? Now, I'm not a paranoid person per se. I'm not, people. Right? I know how people try to get me to feel paranoid, you know, with the gang stalking and stuff, but... So anyway, oh, what was I going to say? You see, I should just probably upload this video and then do the cooking video later. Oh yes, my personal health status. Because you always seeing me coughing, right? Right? Okay, well, first of all, you know, I've come into a lot of contaminants over the years with molds and mildews and LGs and histamines from morning glory and dirt and dust and, you know, and just everything, people. Just everything. Okay, I used to clean, when I rented a house, the first house I rented with Uncle John, honest to God, they rushed us through the basement, but we took the whole house. But because they rushed us through the basement, I didn't really get to see what was down there, other than the size of the basement. And, you know, so, okay, we agreed to take the house. We move in. I go downstairs to, you know, make it a place for Uncle John to live, right? You know, because he was going to live in the basement, right? It had its own little suite, everything down there. And then, of course, I was just around to help him if he needed me, eh? So anyway, I get up and down there, and I realized that, first of all, it didn't even have a fucking ceiling. All it had was those beams, those rafters, right? And it was covered in mold, people. I was washing mold from these beams underneath, right, the ceiling. You know, it was the ceiling. Only, I don't know, maybe they had a grow up in there or something. Who knows? All I know is that upstairs they had revamped everything, new carpet, new paint, you know, it was all new, right? So it looked really nice, and the house was large, and it had these beautiful, beautiful big bay windows. It had a big yard. And then, of course, you know, I wanted to see the basement because that's where Uncle John was going to live, right? And so anyway, we go, but they rushed us through. So that's why I didn't notice. Kind of like here. They rushed us through, right? They rushed us through the back door so that after I rented the house and moved in, I'm running around looking for the stairs, thinking, where the fuck are the stairs? There are no inside stairs because they rushed us out that way. And then they rushed me to take it now or leave it. So, you know, I didn't even have time to think about stairs because we came back up through the same stairs. So, stood right here. This is where we stood. Right here. I remember. My landlord called me on it right here. Take it now. If you don't take it now, I can't promise you it won't be, like, it will be here when you come back. I'll never raise the rent. Stay as long as you want, but you have to take it now. Oh, fuck. I took it, people. I had already looked at like 14 houses. I was coming to the end of my time with that freaking grow-up that almost got me electrocuted, you know? I had a family, Uncle John, Auntie Joan. They had the hydro cut off at the pole in October for like 11 fucking days because of that shit. So I didn't have too many choices. I took this place. Okay, and you know, you've watched my videos, people. I've come into contact with a lot of fucking crud in this house. A lot of fucking crud. To be honest with you, this is the most cruddiest house I've ever lived in all my life. Because of just, one, the state of the yard in terms of how it creates the grit and the mud. And then, of course, you know, I worked years and years and years and years and years getting rid of morning glory. And when fall comes and morning glory dies, the first thing it does is turn to algae, people. And I'm in BC. Everything turns to algae. Right? You know? With just everything. You can see how the toys get algaed up and the wind's blowing and crud and, you know, and I'm always washing. Going to my videos, what do you see? You always see me in water outside washing things. I have never washed so many things in all my life as I have in this house. And I'm still washing. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that I've put my lungs through a lot. Through a lot, people, in just terms of being a mother and going around cleaning up shit and making sure that, you know, things are washed. or like when I did those beams. Like, it took me months. I used to wear a cloth, you know, like a scarf, cleaning. I'd come upstairs and it would be black people from the mold that was on those fucking rafters. But, you know, we moved in, we couldn't do anything. You know, I had to follow through, just like when I moved in here. I had to follow through, right? It was either leave or do something, you know. I did something in this yard. Well, it was the same thing in that house. It was either leave, go find another house, even though upstairs was beautiful, or think that maybe the problem wasn't that bad and it wouldn't take you very long to do it, not realizing it was going to take you more than 6 months to fucking do it. By the time I was done, ripped out all the fucking carpets, because they all needed to be ripped out, had the place gutted, ready to go to, like, you know, lay new carpets and all that shit, that landlord picked a fucking fight with me and kicked me out. Right? And then they rented it to college students who came in and rebuilt the basement because it had been gutted and cleaned by me. Okay? So, just factor that in mind, right? And then, of course, you know, I've been a smoker for 44 years. That's a long time. And I've been a heavy smoker, people. Right? So, you know, that's another factor. And then, recently, you know, I'm having, you seen what happened as soon as I went outside. Whoosh, right? You know, it doesn't take no more than a day or two, few hours, because of the histamines and the dirt and the dust and, you know, the different bacterias that I come into contact with when I'm working with different kind of things, whether it's, you know, compost dirt or wood or grass or weeds or hay, you know, morning glory, different types of plants, right? It all, I'm allergic to things now. I walk into a room, you know, where they have these little spray puff perfume things in an office building or something, and I'm like, right? You know, oh, it's awful. So anyway, but in terms of my health status, in light of all of that, and then the government now, what I found, right, is with their cigarettes, they've literally poisoned the cigarettes, people. Okay, I'm a smoker. I've been smoking for 44 years. I would not say that lightly unless it was true. They have done something where they polluted tobacco. Now, I've been told through the people who sell them that what's happened is the tobacco companies has just thrown everything into one big pile because they're not allowed to sell mild, strong, this, that. You know how you used to be able to buy menthol cigarettes and then they got rid of them. You know, they got rid of different brands. And then they turned every brand to look generic under one black pack, right? And then they somehow, the government, somebody, I don't know who the fuck did it, made these tobacco companies to not have separate, what is it called? Nicotine levels or flavors or, you know, smoothness to your tobacco. And they've just, I've been told they've taken the tobacco and just threw it into one big bowl, mixed it up, and they're selling it to you that way now, and that's why they're garbage, right? And quite possibly, they might even be putting in something even more toxic into them. Because since they've done that, and it's only been a couple of months, really, since the cigarettes that I used to smoke have been completely removed and replaced with garbage. And so for the last couple of months, I feel like, honest to God, I've been smoking the worst of native cigarettes. Because even native cigarettes, you know, they had a level of, well, there's, you know, the worst of the worst, then there's this one, and then there's this one. Those ones up there were a little more palatable. Those ones, okay, but I can only smoke them for so long. Those ones will fucking kill me. I'm at between, those ones are almost at, they're gonna kill me, okay? So, you know, for what it's worth, I need to go buy native cigarettes for what I'm paying for government cigarettes. And if anything, native cigarettes are probably more healthier for me than what the government is now selling to me, which they only brought out a couple months ago in terms of like en masse, where you can't find old cigarettes anymore because everybody's bought them out, right? So what's happening is my chest is getting heavy with it, right? Because of the type of tobacco that I'm smoking. Oh, well, you just need to quit. Yeah, well, it's not that simple. When you've been smoking for as long as I have, it becomes a part of your DNA. It's kind of like a drug addict. You know, if you've been a drug addict for a very, very long time, you know, with heroin or whatever it is, it locks into their DNA. It locks into those dopamines or whatever it is, you know, into their, right? Receptors, right? There's dopamine receptors and all these little receptors, and, you know, it becomes just a part of your DNA. And, you know, I'm always working people, always, pretty much always. And, you know, it's not like I can afford to crash and burn out for, you know, 4 months for my body to heal from the damage of tobacco, right? So, you know, what's happening is I'm feeling heaviness in my chest, tight, right? Now, but then that could be deceiving because we've got the city of Surrey having me out in the fucking, what, 39, 38 degree weather, 40 degree weather, 45 degree weather, right? Working outside after I've been inside all winter long. And it's just like from hot to cold. I went from hot to cold, right? As I'm bending, lifting, and my body hasn't even had time to develop any strength, right? Because, you know, I haven't been exercising. I haven't been lifting fucking 50 pounds outside of maybe walking a mile. It's one thing walking a mile. It's another thing picking up a big fucking bucket and walking with it to take it to a new location when it's more than 50 pounds. Okay? In cold weather yet, as you're smoking shit tobacco. So, do I have the coronavirus? Well, I'm just waiting to break out in a fever, and then if that happens, I'll tell you. Because I couldn't tell you whether I did or not, because the tobacco that I'm smoking, right, leans towards that, you know, maybe you might, because your chest is heavy. You know, you get a little pain in there every now and then. But then you're bony, and you're out in the fucking cold, lifting crap, moving shit, bending down. You know, you're overworking before your body is even ready to do it because you didn't get a chance to work up to it. I mean, every person that's an athlete will tell you, you just don't jump in and give it all, right? You have to build up your strength for that. The city of Surrey did not afford me that opportunity, people. So, you know, what I'm going to do today, because I really don't want this food to waste, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen in a month or 2 or 3. I mean, they've already got it on lockdown for 3 months, basically, right? With this medical officer that's in Trump's government putting a call out to bring in even more restrictions, right? Simply because they're not really telling you everything, in the fact that the people that are the truthers, I guess you can say, who have been studying this virus are leaning towards that it's not a rabies virus, but it kind of acts like a rabies virus because it's been spliced in, right, with a cold or whatever, and that's why it has the ability to jump the blood barrier in the brain and affect thinking, where that person who's infected in that particular state, starts acting stupid, which would become a public health risk if more people started acting stupid because they couldn't control themselves. On top of, the other side effect is, if you have it and it jumps that blood barrier brain, part, right? It gets in, it attaches itself to different parts of your brain. That's why people who have it can't breathe, because the brain forgets to breathe. It becomes infected with the virus as it replicates, right? And makes it impossible for the body to function correctly. And therefore, the body shuts down if it's not getting those signals from the brain. So it's almost like it was designed to attack the brain, right? If you think about it, because if you attack the brain and you can get people to act out and become a public menace through their behavior, or you can get them to lay down and can't breathe because the brain isn't telling the body to breathe, right? You know, I mean, come on, think about it. It's like killing two birds with one stone. You've got the cops running around chasing all these lunatics, trying to control them, as you've got other people laying down, dying because their brain isn't telling them to breathe. This is why they want the ventilators, because the brain itself is being affected, not just the lungs, people, right? So right now, I'm heavy-chested, okay? We know I kind of had a little cold there. You've seen that, right? I feel like I kind of have, I can hear it. You know when you have a little kind of a chest cold and your voice kind of changes? Now, mind you, I did a lot of talking yesterday. And when I talk, if you notice, I'm forceful. So in one way, that's a good thing because it cleans out my lungs. Right? So, you know, maybe that's why I can still move around, right? Because, you know, I'm usually pretty forceful with my voice, but there's a consequence to that, I guess, if you're a smoker, because it forces you to cough to clean out the little, you know, those little things, right? I don't wake up with a lot of mucus. I don't have a lot of phlegm. I don't have that problem. What I have is a lot of nasal drip, the pressure, the ringing, the pressure. This morning was really bad, like really bad, but it's a lot of just up in here, right, with the, you know, the preceding pressure. And right now I'm feeling, you know, like in this area here, right? But then my lower lobes, I'm noticing, are kind of like irritating. But then again, it's deceiving for me because I'm lifting heavy things that my body is not prepared to lift, people. So I don't know if that is just my body, you know, pinched nerve, or, you know, maybe I twisted something, or, you know, maybe I just stretched and, you know, it takes time to heal, right, in terms of exercising, right? Or, you know, maybe I have a cold and I just don't know about it. Or maybe it's the tobacco, right? Which I'm leaning towards. My son said to me, he says, you know, Mom, if you get the coronavirus, you probably won't make it. One, because of my age, basically. And, you know, two, I've been a smoker for 44 years, people. But, I mean, how can you be afraid to live your life? For everything that's been going on in my life, Uncle John, Andre, my kids, ShaMay, now Ciera, you know, I mean, like, and now the coronavirus. I mean, this might be the last video you see of me. How am I going to prevent that when I'm in the house? I'm not infected, but people come to my house and infect me. Could be the city bylaw officers who could infect me. For all we know, they could be going around fucking spraying people. I'm not saying that they are, but I do find it kind of unusual, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do find it kind of unusual that when Ciera died, none of those people were concerned about wearing a mask. Okay? Yeah, they had, I noticed, you know, the cops, they had their black gloves, right? But cops do that, right? But those other two dudes, they didn't care, right? The coroner and inside didn't care. Nobody had a mask, nobody had gloves on. Maybe the cops did, I don't know, but the coroner didn't. She had a clipboard, right? You have to ask yourself, do they have, maybe they've been inoculated. Maybe they've already been inoculated to not get infected. Right? Because the government has done stranger things. I'm not saying so, right? But it just really makes me wonder, because, you know, city's got me outside working in the fucking rain as my government's selling me polluted fucking cigarettes, right? You know, and they're telling my son he can't go to work, right? And, you know, they got us on lockdown, basically, freaked out, right? And, no, the coronavirus isn't going to go away. That's the thing. Even if they cut the curb, it's not going to go away. Obviously, it doesn't affect everybody equally, but at the end of the day, you know, it's, I don't know. It's something that we're not getting the full truth on, that's for sure. Right? Okay, so it's April 4th, 2020. Listening to this coronavirus stuff, and what it's doing, people, for some individuals, when that virus replicates, right? Because it attaches itself to different parts of your body and it travels through your spine. And anyway, what it's doing is it's crossing. Hold on. To make sure that there's organization in how people are being received, that they are standing appropriately. What's it doing for some people is it's crossing the blood barrier brain. So, in other words, it's getting into the brain itself. And it's attacking a certain part of it where it's making people inhibited. And so they're doing things that wouldn't necessarily be socially normal. Like, you know, people going into stores and, you know, touching things purposely to maybe infect those products with the coronavirus, or spitting, or, you know, that kind of stuff. So if we're seeing some of this behavior, it could be that some of these individuals have the coronavirus and it's already crossed over the blood barrier brain where it affects their thinking, basically, right? So that's just something to think about. Anyway, I've got 4.4 pounds of cabbage and a few carrots. I said I was going to do this today. It's probably going to take all day because I'm not even really too sure what I'm going to do. I just know that I don't want this food to go to waste. Now, I am going to dehydrate another bag of carrots, so that will be 3, just to have it on hand. Because, again, I don't want them to spoil, right? And I would still have 2 more left. So, at least 1 more bag of carrots I'm going to dehydrate, so I'm good with that. And I'm going to get this ready to ferment. And then there's a few other things I'm going to do. I'm not really up for making videos because, you know, everything's so gloomy right now, but I'm just trying to, you know, move forward. Yesterday when I did that final video about, you know, let's make it fun, it isn't because I'm feeling jolly, people, okay? Right? It's just because I want people to think about maybe trying to grab onto something that, you know, can be developed in a positive kind of way. That's all. So if you make it fun, then obviously it becomes more positive because it's fun. That was the whole purpose of the title. It's not that I'm ignoring what's going on, you know, with Ciera and the whole, you know, ShaMay and just everything, the coronavirus and the city, and I'm not ignoring that, people, okay? I'm just not letting it pull me down to the ground, okay, to the point where you can't get back up. And that's why I'm thinking that maybe, you know, we should just start advocating our the American federal government, right, to, you know, start thinking about bringing in a general population harvest box program where it becomes available to those households and individuals who need it the most. Just to relieve the pressure. Right? Because we don't really know in what direction this coronavirus is going other than it's already in our society. So with that said, even if they curb the influx of people going into the hospital, the virus itself can go to sleep and mutate and come back up. Well, not mutate, but all viruses can mutate. But it can go to sleep like a herpes virus, right? And it can, you know, and then it can crop back up. Obviously, just by the way it acts, and it's been compared to a form of rabies in terms of the way the virus acts on the body and travels through the body, right? And how it can pass the blood barrier and affect certain parts of the brain, blah, blah, blah. You know, people are saying that this is a manufactured virus that more than likely came from Wuhan, where it originated from some lab. Okay, just by the very nature of the way this virus reacts compared to other viruses, say rabies. This is just off the top of my head, very general. What I'm just listening to, I tend to agree. You know, I think that now that I'm in the trenches myself, right? Although I'm being forced to work outside, people. You know, that's still ticking, right? So what I'm going to do today is I'm basically cooking, okay? I got a couple of 3 bananas over there that would love to be in cake. And I know Andre likes cake, so I'm going to try and make banana cake today so the bananas don't go to waste. I'm obviously making, what is this called? Sauerkraut. But I'll be cooking later with those farmer potatoes with a bit of sauerkraut. I'm going to try something new. All right, I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm going to try something new with the sauerkraut. I'm going to blend it into my meal. I'm thinking to make a nice cream farm style shredded carrot soup, right? Half and half, some dehydrated carrots, some fresh carrots with, you know, milk or whatever I use, maybe, you know, just as if, you know, we're going into a depression, because right now where we're sitting with the economy and with, you know, people being unprepared, and with the fact that this particular virus can cross over into the blood-brain and affect people's behaviors where it would be unreasonable if they weren't, like, you know, sociably unacceptable. It is sociably unacceptable to go into any store and contaminate products simply because you're mad that you've got the coronavirus, right? Like, there is no reasoning behind it other than there's something that's fucking with the brain, and this virus apparently has the ability to do that. So that could explain why some people are doing that, right? And if that's happening now on a low scale in terms of the general population not panicking per se, because we're being hypnotized and lulled into a sleeping kind of, okay, well, if we just hang out at home for a few weeks, everything will go away, when in fact the restrictions are being put more and more and more on us, and with the various mayors and, you know, those types of people through the different districts and counties, and, you know, the little governments, you know, the municipal governments, not the state or the provincial or the federal, but the little ones, you know, they're making it where, you know, people just, you know, they're shutting off whole areas of shopping centers, right, to prevent you from getting certain kind of products. And these are very extreme measures. Now, just to give you a status on my, like an update on my health status, okay? Because we don't know, because now I'm listening to this stuff and now I'm getting paranoid, okay? And I'm not one to get paranoid. Hold on a minute. I'll just turn this off. Just hold on a minute.